Hello and welcome to another video from the Sixth Axis. I am Stefan, or Teflon, and today I'm joined by three people. We've got a bit of a round table going on. So, we have got Aran. Say hello, Aran.
Hi.
We've got Dom. Say hello, Dom.
Howdy.
And finishing off our alphabetical order, we've got Jim. Say hello, Jim.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about the Division's beta test, which has been running over the weekend. The game is out fairly soon, so like Ubisoft have opened the doors and they've got people in to play the game. So I'm sure that lots of people watching this have also played this. But the beta test has actually been extended. Initially I would have been saying that it's done by the time that you see this video, but it's going until tomorrow, that's Tuesday, and it will finish at 11 AM, just in case you are tucked up in bed. So we're going to have a bit of a round table. It's going to be a kind of debate format. So yeah, we're going to start talking about the PvP side of the game. So this is what you'll have played initially, where it drops you into the world, and it's like you've got kind of story missions, you've got a few side missions to do, and everybody that you meet that is a human character is your friend. Not a human character, a human player is your friend. So let's start with Dom, I think. What were your first impressions from getting into the beta?
I think at first it is actually a little underwhelming. The graphics I think are a bit mixed in terms of like the player characters look quite good, and some of the other character models, and then you've got some really nice effects going on in there as well. But that's mixed in with some pretty dodgy sort of vehicles that are sat in the street, and some slightly poor textures and all that kind of stuff. And then really when it sets you off, it's very much go over here, shoot these people, unlock this bit of your encampment, and it doesn't necessarily set the perfect sort of tone to begin with, I think. But it definitely gets better.
It does indeed, yeah. And now turning to Jim, what were your thoughts going into this? Maybe you want to pick on something which Dom said and tell him that he's wrong? Or...
No, I wouldn't want to say that, would I? But I agree about the graphics, but I think everyone's come into this after watching, or at least remembering, those first trailers we saw. It was probably a couple of years ago, probably more than that.
It was E3 2013, wasn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah, God. So, a long time ago. And people look at that and they remember what it looked like then, and it's it's not quite living up to that. Even though we've known all along it's never going to look anything like it did back then. So yeah, a little bit underwhelming on that side. But then as you probably 5-10 minutes, it sort of falls into that old Ubisoft game. Okay, you've got a big map. Here's something to do over here, something to do over here. Go and do loads, and yeah, it's just a classic sort of Ubisoft open world game, and it sort of feels, to me, it felt like a bit like Ghost Recon Online, if anyone's played that, in terms of the actual shooty bits. Maybe not as technical, and also I thought it really felt like Watch Dogs as well, in terms of like the cover shifting and just the shooting in general.
Yeah, I guess you've got a point there with that there is that common genetic data between the cover mechanics of Ubisoft games.
At least you haven't got to climb anything, get to the top of a tower or a satellite or something like that. So that's a relief.
Not yet.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
We've only seen the very, very beginning of the game so far. Turning to Aran, what were your thoughts?
See, I don't quite agree saying the graphics are underwhelming. I think they're okay. They're not, as Jim said, as amazing as the original E3 reveals and whatever, but they're decent. I quite like the weather effects, like when you come out of a building, the snow's blowing pretty hard.
Can I just make one little point, which is that Ubisoft did, when they announced the specs for PC gamers, they did also share a couple of 4K screenshots.
Yeah.
And people were like, we're not sure if these are real graphics or concept art. And it's actually real graphics. So when there's the power backing it up, it's an incredibly good-looking game. It's just, we've got the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. They're like mid-tier graphics from a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
sure.
And they're not bad graphics, but
I think they're quite good as well.
Yeah, I think they're okay. But I will agree with the whole underwhelming part. And while you got the different encounters and mission types, as it were, they all boil down to go over here, kill this group of people, and that is it. And I'm hoping it's not all like that, where it's like everywhere you go, just go into a building, kill a group of people, and you're done. Otherwise, that will get really stale really quickly.
Sometimes they come to you. Sometimes you have to wait.
Yeah.
So.
The guys with the bats in particular.
Yeah, I do like walking along the streets. They do feel a bit empty, but I do like seeing like random encounters where there's a group of guys who, I don't know, are trying to mug someone or whatever, and you just go into shooting them. But again, it is like there's no other conflict resolution. It's like these guys are looting a body, you go and shoot them, but then there's a civilian who isn't armed who's looting a body, and you do nothing. It's like, what? Why?
It kind of plays fast and loose with the laws, I think, but then this is after society's collapsing, so maybe that's,
These guys have got guns, but they're not aiming at you, and you just start shooting them because a red bar appears above their heads. It's like...
I agree. I do agree that you're kind of a criminal with a badge at times, it feels like.
Yeah.
So, from my point of view, like I want to make the inevitable comparisons with Destiny. Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting that Ubisoft have gone with the same overall style of game structure. It's kind of it's the shooter-looter basically. You do have the cover shooter combat, so it does feel different in terms of the actual like nuts and bolts of that gameplay. Mm-hmm. It's a much more considered pace because of it. You don't have as much mobility, so it's maybe a little bit more grounded. But underneath all of that, you've still got the numbers ticking. You've got the damage numbers popping off enemies. And it kind of does feel a little bit jarring that you are basically shooting up gangs and they've got as much health as aliens from the far-flung future. But at the same time, because of those comparisons with Destiny, like we've had Destiny for the last year and a half almost now, and we've seen what that game does. And we're constricted by this beta test in that it's only giving us a small sample, so we don't know what the end game is going to be like. We don't get to see what the end game is like for loot. The top tier stuff is very, very limited. And also we don't get to see if there's going to be raids or like if you need to do the Dark Zone to be competitive and stuff like that. So I think you got to give it a bit of slack because it is this closed off. It's also very early in the game. But obviously, for a lot of people, this is their demo, and that's quite tricky. So I want to now talk about the best thing about this, and I think all of us are going to agree this is the best thing about the Division beta, which is the Dark Zone. I absolutely love it, and I'm going to pass this over to Aran first this time. What did you think of the Dark Zone when you went in there for the first time?
First, overwhelming. So completely different to the PvE portion. It's like you go in and all these things are flashing up. You can just hear gunfire in the distance and whatever. So I was walking along the street, like this was my first experience, and I just saw these 4 guys in front of me, and they all turned and started shooting at me.
With these human players?
These were other human players.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, that can happen a bit.
I ran in there, and then I got killed because there's 4v1. So I went in again, and then I saw these other human players taking on some AI group. Mm-hmm. Didn't know who these guys were, joined them for a bit, and I just started walking around with these guys for about 10-15 minutes. So I got to experience kind of both sides where you go against human players who want what you have, so your resources or whatever, they'll kill you for that. And then the other part where you suddenly team up with a couple of strangers just to get each other's backs.
So did you go in at all with a set group of friends?
I did not go in with a set group of friends. I thought because I only had a little bit of time to try it, so I went in for about half hour, about an hour max, and got both sides anyway. Obviously it would be better when you're playing with a group, but it was nice to see kind of the 2 sides to it, so where you're fighting a group who are after you, but then because there was no verbal communication, we were kind of just looking at each other for cues of where to go, so we'd stand still and someone would go one way, the others would follow.
Did you mess around with the emotes at all?
No, not really.
Oh, it's a shame. You can do endless clapping, which does not ever stop. Yeah.
I'm going to do that next time then. I'll just keep clapping in the middle of the square.
So you played it lone wolf, but I know for a fact that Jim, you played it with other people at one point.
Yeah, I had some Deadwood on my team when I went into the
That is
Dark
very,
Zone.
that is very, very mean to call
Yeah.
me Deadwood.
I mean, yeah, it's much more hostile. You know, you got people who just walk in as soon as they get in, they just start shooting dogs, shooting other players. You know, it's a bit of a war zone out there. But yeah, in terms of what you actually do in the Dark Zone, it's basically you're sort of risking going into this harsher environment because you want to get better loot. That's sort of what I'm getting from anyway.
Yeah,
So,
the best loot in the beta, you have to go to the Dark Zone to get that. Yeah.
So you bring up your map again. You're looking for points on the map, little encounters that you can go and do, and then you'll notice that the enemies, they have yellow health bars instead of red health bars, and they take a hell of a lot more damage, and they dish out a hell of a lot more damage as well. So you sort of try and find anywhere to go where there's sort of like a low density of these enemies, or there's a manageable density, depending on the size of your team, of course. So you go into one of these encounters, you kill whoever you can, you grab the loot, but you can't equip that loot straight away. You have to get it extracted, which is sort of where the whole trust and distrust thing comes into play. You have to wait for an extraction helicopter to actually physically come and pick the items up. So you have to go to designated spots within the Dark Zone, call in the extraction helicopter, and it'll give you a timer, like a countdown timer. I think it's 90 seconds or 2 minutes, around that sort of time.
It's a minute and a half.
Yeah, and so when that happens, all the players in nearby proximity are given notification saying, hey, look, there's a helicopter coming to pick up some guy's stuff. You know, you could go and take it if you want it. No, it puts out that sort of message. So you're sat there waiting for the helicopter to come down. You'll see other players come, because obviously everyone can beam up their own items at the same time. But then you're going to get the chancers who come over and are thinking, if I kill all these guys, I'm going to get like 20 bulletproof rucksacks. So, you know, I'm going to give it a go. So you've got this 90 seconds to basically hunker down and just keep your fingers crossed that someone isn't going to come behind you and just pop you in the back of the head, really.
It can be quite nervy times. How about you, Dom? Did you experience this nerviness of being sat there looking at someone who's walking towards you and not being sure if they're going to shoot you in the face?
Yeah, and I love that. I love the distrust of everybody. So I mean, I played with you and Ash, and working as a team of three, I think, works really well for sort of concentrating your fire on people and all that kind of stuff. That obviously helps with having actual people to talk to when you're teaming up. But yeah, when we got joined by a guy called Lewis, who I still hate today. after yesterday, crying his name.
Man,
in
you
anger.
hold a grudge.
I know, yeah. I'm waiting to encounter him again tonight on the beta. But yeah, so he joined our team for a bit, and off we went and we got to the extraction zone. And as we were waiting for the extraction, Lewis decided to turn on all of us and kill us. Which meant that every time we saw him for about the next hour, it made it a point to then go and kill him, even though everybody kept telling me not to. But yeah, I think, and it's fantastic when you've got these people coming up and you're sort of going, are they going to shoot you? How are we going to do this? And I don't think I've actually ever played anything that's been like that. And that, I think that's really what I've taken away from playing the beta, is that is something new. That is, and they've done it really well as I think.
Yeah, giving you that paranoia.
Yeah.
You never know who you're going to trust. So, from my point of view, I think I've played it the most out of the four of us. I'm fairly certain of that point. And yeah, I love the Dark Zone. I can see its limitations, especially in the beta, but I absolutely love the tension of waiting, sitting for people to come up to you, sitting as people come up to you.
Yeah, I take it you can't kill people who are in the same party as you, though, can you? Or is it just
if you're specifically in a party, then there's no friendly fire.
Okay.
I think that was in an E3 trailer last year, but that's not really part of it anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I think it's also fascinating that, speaking of the E3 trailers, this is kind of what they were hinting at with the very first E3 reveal, because in that it was they worked through an instance in a police station, they got loot at the end, and then it was like, okay, get out of here, and now we need to extract. And they called in the helicopter, and then the camera pulled out, and it was like, here's all of these players around you. And so that has evolved into the Dark Zone. I think the PvE is something a bit different to that. But yeah, what I saw going beyond the tension of the extraction zones is that firstly, it's very, very easy to go rogue yourself, and going rogue is when you shoot another agent. But that can evolve into running around, and basically you can be like the cops, but like proper cops. You're the clean cops, and you're hunting down the dirty cops.
Yep.
And so you go, and if you ever see anyone that's gone rogue, you want to kill them, you will chase them across the entirety of the map, and you will put them down, because you can then steal their loot without any payback. You can get all of their Dark Zone cash as well, and that in and of itself is really, really quite fun. But I would say that like this is the best indication that I've seen of where the end game is going to be. There is like a safe house tucked away in a corner where you can buy the proper top tier weaponry. It's got the best stats, it's got like a custom special look and stuff like that. But also you kind of really want to play this with friends, because I think that, Aaron, you've probably had the least full experience of this, because you do need people to have your back. And it's very easy for you to, as you said when you first walked in, people to just turn around and shoot you down.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think we should wrap things up. The game is out on March 8th for PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC, but you've got until tomorrow morning in the UK, that's February the 2nd, to continue sampling the closed beta if you've got access. Head over to the6thAxis.com for more news, previews, reviews and videos about video games, funnily enough. And thanks to Aran, Dom and Jim for joining me in this roundtable, and we will see you next time. Say goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.